I laid out an organized progression of information for the first several episodes of this channel so that the things I wanted to tell you would have a logical flow to them. Unfortunately, real life has not always cooperated, whether it's work or weather or my health. Some things have gotten in the way of getting all of the data that I've wanted, all of the footage that I've wanted, and so we're going to have to put off a couple of the episodes just a little bit longer. But rather than let this series stagnate and have you wonder what's going on, I've taken a subject that I was going to talk about anyway in a few episodes, and I've moved it forward. No harm in it, doesn't really throw much off. In fact, you probably wouldn't have even noticed. I just know me, and I know that it's not quite what I had originally intended, and so what's going to happen is that inside, quietly, subtly, unbeknownst to you, this fact is going to eat me alive. Having said that, let's go ahead and talk about the list. In episode 2, when I discussed my goals and objectives, I presented a list of 5 goals for 2019. And the third one was that I wanted to set new personal records for all of my benchmark exercises. I mentioned at the time that I maintain a list of key exercises. Some of them are central to all weightlifters, and some of them are just exercises that I enjoy, and I enjoy tracking my progress in them. And so since I will be mentioning that list throughout the year, and since it is one of my goals that I will want to talk about whenever I achieve that goal, I want to talk about the list. I want to present it to you today. And therefore, whenever I mention it in the future, you should have a pretty good grounding in what I'm talking about. I'm not going to detail a lot of how to do what exercises I'm talking about here. This is just a presentation of those exercises, of the list itself. And today I will also present my current bests in each of those, what I am trying to improve upon in 2019. So all of the figures that you'll see are the weights or speeds that I achieved before 2019 began. We'll start with the list of cardio exercises that I have assembled, exercises that involve aerobic activity or are otherwise good for the cardiovascular system. The first one is the walk test. It is a rather brisk 37 degrees here about noon on January 1st, 2019, and I am about to kick off this year's workout regimen with my quarterly walk test. 4 times a year I come out to the track and I perform the walk test, which is part of a larger program called the Rockport Walk Test. In that full test, you walk as fast as you can for 1 mile. Never breaking into a jog, always keeping 1 foot on the ground, but as fast as you can. At the end of that, you take your pulse, you enter that number into a computer, and it gives you some data called the VO2 max, which is an overall indicator of your cardiovascular fitness. I don't go all the way with that. I simply do the walk. I go for 1 mile as fast as I can, and I time it. And I figure that the faster I can go, the better my cardiovascular health is. That number has been as high as, I believe, 14 and a half minutes the very first time I tried it back in 2010. I've gotten it as low as 10 minutes and 8 seconds just last year. Many of the other numbers that you'll see go all the way back to 2012 or 2013, the last time I was really seriously devoted to improving my strength and my health. If you recall, 2013 through 2016 were one great big slump. So for a lot of the numbers coming up, it has been a long time since they have been improved upon. The second cardio exercise I track is the 1 mile, and here's what I mean by that. When I go out for cardio, I go out typically for 30 minutes. If I go to the track, then I go around the track again and again for 30 minutes, and I calculate my distance and some other things I'll talk about in a moment. But the first thing I calculate is that first mile. When I'm fresh, when I'm new, when I'm just taking off from the starting line and starting my stopwatch, that's when I've got my best energy. And so I keep track of how fast I can complete those first 4 laps. And the best time I've ever done that in is about 7 minutes 40 seconds. I think it was 7:42 or 7:43. I cannot right now find the official record of that. I know it was very close to that. So I'm going to say that if I can beat 7:40, I will definitely create a new personal record for my 1 mile. On a typical cardio day, after I've completed those first 4 laps, I just keep going and I finish out the 30 minutes. Based on that data, how many times I went around in 30 minutes, I then calculate my third statistic that I keep track of, the average lap. It's one thing to bolt out of the gate and complete 1 mile as fast as you can. It's another to sustain a good rate for 30 minutes. So I keep track of the average lap to see how well I'm doing there. My best average lap for a 30-minute cardio session at the track was 2 minutes 15 seconds in either 2012 or 2013. That's about a 9-minute mile for 3 miles, which was really good for me that day. Again, it's been a long time since I've had that kind of quality conditioning, so I hope to gain that back and improve upon it in 2019. So if I can sustain an average over 30 minutes of 2 minutes 14 seconds or faster, I will count that a new personal record victory. The other statistic I can pick up from just one 30-minute cardio session at the track is the fast lap. Just out of curiosity, I see where in all of my laps is the fastest one I did. It's often the first one. If I've got the energy, then as I'm reaching the end of my 30 minutes, I will slow down, I will brace myself at the starting line, and I will complete one final lap as fast as I can. There are some times I'm out there, I just do not have the energy to try a fast lap at the end, and there are some times I do. Either way, the fastest lap I have on record for ever completing is 1 minute 40 seconds. So, hoping to beat that sometime in 2019. Years ago, when I was first starting to get in shape, I understood that one of the exercises people do is they go jogging. I quickly learned that I can't do that. I can't just go out for 30 minutes and jog. My brain wants to know, did I improve upon last time or did I not? How is my speed? How is my health compared to a month ago or 2 months ago? And so what I did was I started creating very specific routes that I would do over and over and over through my neighborhood. And that way I could take a stopwatch and I could time myself from my driveway through the loop back to my driveway again and say, okay, that was my time for that loop. And then in my notebook, I could actually see, yes, month after month, I am getting faster at jogging through that loop. Things are getting better. That kind of concrete data is what my brain craves. Again, just the wandering, just the let's go for 30 minutes. I can't do it. So I have created these 2 loops. One is the small loop and one is the big loop. Pretty descriptive, I know. The small loop is basically 2.12 miles, according to mapmyrun.com, and the big loop is 2.62 miles, so about a half a mile longer than the small loop. And I have record times for those also. And even as I say that, I recall that I don't have the precise data for them, but going back in memory to 2012 and 2013 and the achievements that I got there, I do know that I can say if I can do the small loop in less than 18 minutes, I can call that a new personal record. And if I can do the big loop in less than 22 and a half minutes, that will be a new personal record. I do know vaguely that my bests on both of those are just above those 2 times. So I'm going to set those times a little lower, make sure I'm not cheating myself. If I can beat those 2 estimate times that you see there, then I will have set a new personal record definitely. The city of Redmond has a very interesting natural feature running right through it. It's called the Dry Canyon, and it's a canyon. It runs right through the center of Redmond. The city of Redmond has put in a paved jogging trail. They've established some bike trails and some horse trails. There are some other amenities down there that make it fun for the whole family at various times throughout the year. And one of the staircases down into that canyon is just a block from my house. So a few years ago, I decided to make the stairs part of my cardio exercises. And so there are times I will go out and I will spend 30 minutes going up and down those stairs. There are 2 pieces of data I collect from that. First, how long does it take me to complete 21 flights? And there's kind of a long story behind the number 21 there. I'll leave that for another time. The other piece of data is how many flights do I complete in 30 minutes? And so both of those pieces of information are now part of my benchmark exercise list. At this time, I have absolutely no record from the past of how long it took me to complete 21 flights. I know I've always been able to do 21 in less than 30 minutes, but I don't remember now exactly what that time was. And I believe my current record for number of flights completed in under 30 minutes at all is 23. But I'm not sure. So I'm going to leave question marks there. Basically, those two are a given. The moment I go out and I do those exercises at all in 2019, I will set new personal records there. Now over to the resistance side of things. These are the exercises that do mostly involve using weights. They all involve increasing actual muscle strength. And I keep track of 11 of them. I actually used to keep track of more. As this year started, I decided to whittle out some that were a bit redundant. And so these key 11 exercises will be what I track in 2019 and what I attempt to beat. 3 of them are primary lifts for just about every lifter. They're considered the 3 kings of the weightlifting community. They are the bench press, the deadlift, and the squat. Those 3 exercises together, in fact, work most of the muscles of the human body. They are compound exercises, so you are working more than just one exercise with each of those, and they are great ways to improve your overall strength. I used to test how heavy I could do a full set of 10 of each of those, but I found a slightly more reliable indicator is the concept of the 1 rep max that I was introduced to a few years ago. And so I'll be using that, and I will explain a 1 rep max a little bit later, but basically it means how heavy can you press one of each of those weights. And so my records at this point, my records going into 2019 are 250 pounds for the bench press. That is my all-time best. 280 pounds for one deadlift, and the squat is one of those that I have lost the records to. I am at a loss. I do know I've never liked the squat. Of the 3, it's always been the weakest, and so I'm going to put my estimate there at 200. That will probably actually be fairly easy to beat, so I'm not sure how much that'll count, but given that I have to beat all of them in order to achieve goal number 3 of my goals for the year, I think 1 or 2 of these that are fudged a little are not really going to throw off much. As I've been lifting from 2010 onward, I would occasionally perform an exercise that I found online or in a workout magazine, and I would say, hey, I like that exercise. I actually enjoy doing that, and I would keep track of it in my notebook, and I would use it as one of the exercises for saying, hey, I am getting stronger, and so over time they actually made their way into this list. So here are the ones where I actually do perform 10 of them. How heavy can I go and still complete 10 repetitions of this given exercise? First, there's the bicep curl, and my record there is 90 pounds for a set of 10. The overhead dumbbell extension working the triceps, my record is 85 pounds for a set of 10. The military press, sometimes called the overhead barbell press, I have set my record there at 110 pounds for a set of 10. The shrug, or more specifically the barbell shrug, but since it's my notebook, I know what I mean when I put shrug. I've gotten up to 220 pounds for a set of 10. The bent over barbell row. This is actually not one of my favorites, but I found it on a list of 5 or 6 highly recommended exercises for all weightlifters years ago, so I kind of threw it into the mix. One of the things that makes me not crazy about it is that there are so many variables, your posture and the way you pull up the bar and stuff like that, that recreating it each time to really make sure that I'm accurately testing my own strength is a little hard to do, but I've kept it on the list. There it is, and I can say that the heaviest I've ever done a set of 10 is 110 pounds. And I also include the leg press machine. This is a machine that gets a lot of mixed reviews in the weightlifting community. There are people who figure if you can squat, why bother leg pressing? Especially since there is something easier about the leg press. I can do 450 pounds on the leg press when I can barely do 200 on the squat. So there's There's some different mechanics involved, but it's one I actually kind of enjoy. The fact that I can go heavier on it gives me a mental boost, and so I've kept that on the list. And again, my top there is 450 pounds. It actually might be a little heavier, but I don't have record of it, so I'm going to say if I can beat 450 for a set of 10, I will set a new personal record there. All right, 2 more exercises and then we're done. And one of them is my push-up maximum. How many times can I do push-ups until I just cannot anymore and my arms collapse under me and I hit the floor moaning and groaning? My record there is 34 push-ups, and that's been a long time. I think that was 2012 again, so it's time to get that upper body strength back and see if I can beat 34 before the end of the year. If I focus at all, that one should be one of the easiest personal records on this entire list to conquer before the year is out. In fact, probably before summer even gets here, because that's an exercise I don't have to go outdoors, I don't have to bundle up, I don't even have to go to the gym. I can just do it right here at home. So if I fail on that one, you all are welcome to smack me hard and say, "You slacker." And then the one core exercise that I track, the one exercise that works the abs and stabilizers at all, and that is the plank. I used to calculate sit-ups, and then people started to say that sit-ups were bad for your lower back. So then I started to calculate crunches, but crunches never sat well with me for the same reason that the bent-over barbell row doesn't sit entirely well with me. There's too many variables, as I start reaching the end of my abilities, as my abs start wearing out and I start doing crunches that aren't getting as high off the floor, at what point do I have to stop counting them as crunches? And that was all too vague for me. So when somebody suggested the plank, I went for it. And so my record there, I actually don't recall what my record there is. It's probably 30, 40 seconds, something like that. I don't know. I know that I've done planks in the past, but I have zero memory of what the longest one I've ever held is. So again, the moment I do those in 2019, that one becomes a new personal record. Again, I still have to complete all 11 resistance exercises and all of the cardio exercises in order to pass that goal. So I won't hold those couple of question marks against me. And so that is the list. In future episodes, I will actually take some time to demonstrate some of those exercises for the benefit of any newcomers. This was just a quick rundown of what I mean by the list of benchmark exercises, so that at the end of the year, when I assess whether or not I achieved goal number 3 of setting a new personal record in each one of those, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I hope that was remotely interesting. I know it was kind of just a dry technical subject, but as soon as I get the rest of the data to kick off the year properly with, we will get those episodes going and proceed from there. That's what I have to offer today on A Body in Progress. Okay.